Hey, what's going on? Bungie's official status page put the maintenance for this update on March 24th, 2026, and the patch landed right after the earlier March 17 update that brought in Cryo Archive, new implant perks and mods, the ability to activate exfil beacons while downed, Rook becoming available at runner level 0, plus a long list of UI balance, weapon, voice, and stability changes. So when you look at this follow-up, the vibe is pretty clear. The foundation was already laid, and now the team is tightening the screws, smoothing out the rough edges, and cleaning up the parts of the experience that could get in the way of a clean run. One thing I really like in this patch is how much it focuses on clarity and control. The update notes call out unowned Cryo Archive shell styles showing up in the customization menu, which is the kind of change that makes progression feel more readable instead of making players guess what exists and what does not. On the thief side, there is a fix for the pickpocket drone timing trick where players could refresh the cooldown by pressing the prime ability button right as it timed out. And that is exactly the sort of exploit that can quietly warp a match if it stays around too long. Bungie had already started pushing on thief-related behavior in the earlier patch too, since pickpocket drone was already restricted from looting players in the active exfil animation, and its prompt handling was cleaned up for changed keybinds and controller map mappings. So the direction here is pretty obvious. Make the shell look cleaner, make the ability behave properly, and keep skill expression intact without letting timing quirks turn into free value. The map and contract fixes are also doing a lot of heavy lifting in this update. Outpost gets geometry cleanup, so players cannot slip into the pinwheel or mess around near dormitories through unintended entry points, while Cryo Archive gets its own round of fixes for wall art render distance and loose items falling through the environment. Those may sound like niche problems until you are the person who loses a run because the game lets you interact with the space in a way it clearly never meant to allow. The UI and experience changes are just as practical. The overhead map ping behavior is fixed so exfils do not disappear when players ping and unping repeatedly. The Codex has updated localization for ranked cosmetic challenges tied to gold and diamond. The contract reroll refresh timer no longer shows the nonsense +1 week behavior, and cyberacne contracts are no longer getting stuck as disabled and blocking progress. That all fits with how Marathon has been treating the Codex and contracts as a core part of progression, since the earlier update already added new ranked and Cryo Archive Codex challenges and spent a lot of time making those systems easier to read and less error-prone. Then there is the stability side, and this is the part that matters more than people usually want to admit. The patch notes call out fixes for crashing, kick-to-lobby errors, and general stability, plus localization corrections for Cryo Archive Codex entries. That may not sound as exciting as a new weapon or a fresh zone, but a game like this lives or dies on whether it feels dependable once you are actually inside a match. The earlier patch had already introduced AMD anti-lag 2 support, fixed a crash when opening the map on perimeter, and dealt with a bunch of systems that affected how the game held together during live play. So this latest pass looks like another round of make the game stay up, stay readable, and stay fair. And when you combine that with the matchmaking fix for the experimental duo queue wait times, the picture gets even clearer. The team is not just adding new stuff, it is trying to make the whole experience more playable, minute to minute. Whether that means reducing queue pain, cleaning up crash points, or keeping localization from getting in the way of challenge tracking. What makes this update worth talking about is that it is not trying to reinvent the game in one huge swing. It is doing a bunch of smaller, smarter repairs that collectively change how the game feels. The earlier 1.0.5 patch already brought in new Cryo Archive loot, stronger build variety, better runner access, weapon tuning, voice chat improvements, and a whole set of quality of life changes across the lobby, codex, vault, and in-run interface. This follow-up patch keeps that momentum going by making the economy easier to understand, fixing weird edge cases in the zone layouts, correcting contract behavior, cleaning up the ping system, and tightening matchmaking so more of the time you spend with the game is actual gameplay instead of dealing with friction. That is the real story here. Less confusion, fewer weird surprises, and a cleaner path from loadout to run to exfil. And honestly, that is the sort of patch that players notice most after the noise fades, because once the bugs stop getting in the way, the whole game feels more solid from the first menu to the final escape.